Okay, I have started the recording. This is a public meeting. This meeting will be recorded and the recording will be placed on our YouTube channel. So please don't say anything that you would not normally say in a public meeting. This is the Pod Management and VOLTHA FCAPS Brigade call for February 10th of 2020. I'm going to start with a couple announcements. The first is that a VOLTHA face-to-face meeting has been proposed for April. It'll happen in, I believe, the latter part of April, near the end. There is a link here in the brigade agenda to a poll for that meeting, and they've asked that everyone please put their status on that poll, even if you're not able to attend that meeting. It's helpful from a planning perspective just to know that everyone has seen the poll. So even leave a blank entry if you know that you are unavailable, or if you are available, please check yourself off as available. There have been some people that have asked me, what is planned next for VOLTHA? What is the brigade going to be doing after the release? What kinds of stories will we expect? And a lot of future planning for VOLTHA may happen at this meeting. So it would probably be helpful for people to follow along with what's going to happen at that meeting. Next note is that API changes now require approval from the G5. David Bainbridge, who is on channel, is a good contact person. He's active in the VOLTHA stabilization channel. If you have a proposed API change, or if you have an API change in your patch and someone is holding off to approve it, then letting David know about that API change. He can take that up with the G5 and make sure your API change gets considered, because we have a lot of work to do, and we'd like to avoid people getting prolonged waits on API changes, or people doing work only to later find out that an API change is not approved. So if you are planning an API change, and this could be either at the gRPC level or this could be at the library function level, please be proactive. Seek out either myself or David or anyone on the VOLTHA or VOLTHA stabilization channels, and let us know that API change is coming. Next up would be, any questions about that? Okay, next up would be to go through status. Let's see who we have this morning. I don't see Devmalya. Next up would be Dilip. Would you like to provide your status, Dilip?
Sure. So last week I worked on this Jira 2470, which is basically to check the skew between the ONUs for PM collection. And what happened was that while I was doing this, Matt incidentally happened to make some changes in the same area, and his changes does add this functionality. So that is what I tested. So I shared my results with Matt and with a couple of other, with of course Scott and Jip. And so far we see that the behavior is good. We have a knob to change the skew, but this knob is it's like a random number between 10 to 50 seconds. And based on the number of ONUs, we don't know at this point of time, is this knob good? So that's the question, we don't know. So based on the discussion, we were, it has been thought that we will have a CLI through VoltCTL to configure this knob of the skew. So that's the plan for the next work. So that's I'm kind of leading to my next phase of work for this.
So just a quick question on the control is what? That's on the periodicity on collection of PM stats on a given ONU. Is that what the control is?
I can a little bit barely hear you, if you would mind.
Yes, so I'm asking if the control is based, is that the rate of polling for a given set of PM results from a given ONU, or what's the control for?
Correct. The control would be like when you start the PM, you would specify at what offset of the skew you would want to start the PM collection.
Okay. So, I mean, potentially, given a split ratio supported by an OLT, would it be, I guess, more deterministic to basically have, you know, a skew based on the ONU ID? So, for instance, let's say we supported a 64-way split on a given OLT, then we could potentially divide up the 900 seconds of PM collection by 64, maybe with some, you know, some guard bands at the edges here. But and based on the ONU ID, you could see how far into that 900 seconds your collection interval should be. Is that something more deterministic? I mean, because potentially, I may set the control to be the same, I guess, right? I mean, for every ONU, otherwise I have to make sure it's different.
Yeah, so right now what's implemented is just a random function that does between I think 10 and 50 seconds, a random start time on collection between 10 and 50 seconds. So what Dileep's proposing is, you know, we add a knob for that so you can change that at runtime. Now, your idea about using the ONU ID to deterministically do it, there is not this story we have listed here, but I did come across that proposal in one of the other stories, was that we have perhaps both components, you know, maybe a select the minute based on ONU ID and then select the seconds based on a small random skew or some combination of the two. That was proposed in one of the other stories. I did have a couple questions about that concept, and I guess the primary concept I had was, do we know that these ONU IDs, do we know that they're like equally filled out, that we can, if we try to hash them, they wouldn't end up in some weird combination where they all, you know, like 10 of them are used and they're all at the same bucket or something like that?
Well, no. I mean, the legacy PM model, right? So you have 15 minutes to get around every ONU on a pond, right? So in that 900 seconds that you have to get around everyone to read their previous counter, so you need some way of, you know, like you say, just offsetting the collection, so you're not just, you know, blasting everything at the same time. So, you know, each ONU ID is going to be unique, and it's going to be within the maximum range of the split ratio that you're supporting. So yeah, I mean, it's not guaranteed to be equally filled out, although, you know, initially it probably will be, because it's just allocated sequentially by the OLT adapter. But, you know, over time, as you delete and add, then there may be gaps. Yeah, so it's possible it may not be equally distributed, I guess.
I guess that was my main concern with hashing those is that somehow we ended up with an unequal distribution, though certainly doing randomness, we could end up with an unequal distribution over time as well. There's no guarantee that the random is going to be uniform. So
yeah, you have to make sure it's all within that 15 minutes, though. That's the only caveat, right?
yeah. So the other thing I wanted to mention is there are two different kinds of stats that are collected. The ones that are collected where you can get the last interval, that is not the ones Dilip is working on. He's working on
I see.
another,
Okay.
yeah, another set where I think you have to proactively go and get the current counter, or other stats. Some of these aren't counters. Some of these are like link up down stuff, I think, in these.
Yeah, and like fact, okay. So I was talking about the legacy mode of operation where you have you basically have 32-bit counters for all the stats, and you got to get around them within 15 minutes because they reset and start from zero again, right? There are there's newer support for 64-bit intervals, which is obviously better. You can just let them run forever and just sample them. But legacy mode, you got to get around everything in 15 minutes. But obviously, the current counters, you got to make sure you sample them often enough so things don't wrap.
The 2 p.m. counters which I am looking is the pawn optics and the unit status. These are
the RSSI. Okay.
Yeah, these are the only two which is controlled through this knob, and these are at least also 15 minutes interval. The pawn optics which gets the TX power, the RX power, like that.
Yeah.
Right? And the unit status, which will get the status of the Ethernet uni.
Isn't that alarmed? I mean, if it goes down, you're going to get an alarm coming out of the ONU.
It does have the alarm, but this one is more of a PM collection, but it also has the alarm. That is a separate part, right?
Yeah, a lot of these stories have both an alarm component and sort of a historical PM, and also an on-demand PM component. So there's often there's all three components implemented separately.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I've previously I've seen basically just the things that are 32-bit counters, like the packets and bytes, etc. Those are sampled periodically. I mean, there are potentially thresholds you can set on some of these, but yeah, okay. I mean, so alarms are a separate thing. Okay.
I wouldn't mind having a discussion with Sean, and then get understanding, so that I implement in the right way. So I would be more than happy to sync up with you.
Sure. We can have I guess an offline conversation if you like.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah, and Dilip, you're welcome to invite me to that as well, and I can listen in.
Sure. Yeah, we will.
And also we could see if Chip or Matt was available, though.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, we will do that. I will do that.
Yeah. So contact all the interested parties, and if we can get them all to discuss at the same time, that'd be great. If not, just a one-on-one and a summary, and we can toss it around via email what we learned.
Yeah. The other thing I was interested in having too was once the ONU comes up, basically hit it with initialize on the set time for the PM to get the alignment on the 15-minute boundaries as well. So basically, you just tell the ONU after it comes up, this is the current time of day on the OLT, and it's not 1588. It's a very rough time of day based on NTP or something. It could be based on
Yeah.
And then that basically initializes all the PM counters and everything and starts them running on the right boundaries. So that would be good to implement as well.
Yeah, so you think we don't have that time sync currently? That's not implemented?
I saw the capture that Matteo did when we were looking at the scalability, and I didn't see anything doing setting the time of day boundary for the ONUs. So I'm assuming it's not there, but maybe it got added. I don't know.
I don't think it's 1588. It's just a time sync, I guess.
No, it's not. It's not 1588. It's does it just for aligning 15-minute boundaries on the PM collection. It's not accurate. Not that accurate. 1588 is a whole other animal.
Yeah, it would be good for us to know if that time of day is set, and I'll make an action item for us to either look for it or ask around to someone like Matt who might know, as he's been poking around in that initial sync.
Yeah, it's a synchronized action on the ONU GME, I think. I have to check, but it's a message saying synchronize time of day basically on the ONU G, I think. It's an action.
Yeah, we'll look for that, and we'll ticket it if it's not done, because that is important.
Yeah.
Anything else, Dilip?
No, that's all.
Okay, next up would be let's see, who do we got? We got Dinesh. Yeah, next up would be Dinesh. Would you like to give your status, Dinesh?
Sure. Last week, I was actually measuring the minimum time required to collect the data from the Redfish device, which is in Taiwan, and I run my server on AWS server, so it pretty much takes 1 minute to collect all the data we have. It's almost 1 MB data. So, but then somebody did some tests in Taiwan, and they found if you run on the same lab, it takes 3 seconds. So if you are on the same LAN, but then Taskin wants to still further optimize it to get all the data every second. So that's what the next part of it is. So I'm not sure. So while doing that, I found 2 issues which I fixed and sent the Gerrit for it. So I'm not sure if I can close this Jira and open another for device side optimization. Then
yeah, I would suggest you close the Jira that was to investigate and learn these current timings, and open a new one if there's a specific implementation to improve the performance.
okay. And another, then you assigned me 3 Jiras. One was about on-demand Redfish API. So I have updated that, but I need to add SFP related information to it. So I will add that and close that Jira. I think it is 27 something. On-demand Redfish API or something like that. I got the number. 27 something.
Yeah, I remember that one. I'm looking for it here, and I wish this thing sorted. Maybe I can sort by assignee. That would make this a lot easier. On demand, that would be this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one, and you've summarized the means to use the existing Redfish tools to get all that information.
Yeah. So
I think that's sufficient.
Yeah. So then that leaves another 2 Jiras which I was investigating. So one Jira was about TX wavelength, and then we discussed about it, and then you contacted the reporter, and he Tom Moore, I think, added some explanation and he closed it, but he moved it on his name.
He closed it, but did what?
he moved it on his name.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, so that other one was to learn the wavelength of the ONUs, the wavelength they're transmitting on, and I think it was determined that that is not a GPON feature, that's an NG or N2. It's the other type of PON that we aren't supporting right now. So it's been moved off either until the future or as a won't do. We
Yeah.
don't need to worry about that one.
Yeah. So then another Jira is about getting a estimated distance between ONT and OLT. So I talked to the device guys in Taiwan, and they said that BAL has support to get that distance. So I'm not sure if this is I don't think this should be a periodic thing. And again, it is not per port related stats kind of thing, right? It is basically one time getting information about ONT from OLT. So it's mostly ONU based, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I would assume if the ONU doesn't move, then the number never changes.
Yeah, so for that, I think on the device side, we need to implement gRPC API. So I will talk to BAL Brigade and ask them to submit a new Jira so that they can implement it. But while that is going on, I need to set up my environment. So on Friday evening, I started setting up my environment on Kind Volta, and it was giving me some error. Then David Banbridge gave me some pointer, which I will try today and try to bring up the Volta environment.
Okay, great, great. Yeah, I'm happy to see you're making progress with setting up that Kind Volta environment.
And then another thing is, if I could get reference Jira or it's Gerrit where we implemented a new gRPC API for device, that would be good, because I think I need to make changes in Proto, and then in adapter I have to call that gRPC API to get information, but I'm not sure where to plug in this particular API since it's not periodic. So do we want to do it when the ONU comes up or something like that? I need to figure out that code.
Yeah, I can look for an example of another time where we've done that. So that, most of the PMs we have are periodic. So I think finding examples of on-demand ones may be a little more difficult, but I can look around and ask around and see if I can find. I'll make myself a note.
Yeah, because I'm not very well aware of that part of the code. So let me dig into this while I set up this setup.
Sure. Yeah, I will try to get you some pointers. But yeah, if this is, yeah, so you're saying this is going to be a BAL API, so I'm assuming that could be done at the OLT level.
Yeah, at agent.
Yeah, at the agent, so it could be done inside the agent. So you'd need to modify the OpenOLT adapter, add a new API between the adapter and the agent.
Yeah, but my main concern is where to plug in this, because this doesn't look like periodic.
Right.
So I think it is associated with when a ONU comes up or ONU gets enabled or any state change happens to ONU, we could query this thing.
Yeah, so one of your options is to follow what OnCar did with the OMCI test action. He implemented that with a gRPC that you have to call this gRPC that would start the test action, and then the result comes back over Kafka. So you
No,
could possibly go ahead.
No, I don't think it is related to OMCI or something like that.
No, I wasn't necessarily suggesting you do this over OMCI. I'm just saying he implemented a gRPC for this.
Okay, got it. I'll talk to him.
Yeah, there was like a start gRPC, and yeah, you would start it, and then the result would come back over Kafka. So even just if we found his patches, you could see how he implemented that start RPC and how it got plumbed through various
Yeah.
adapters.
What is the code flow for that, so I can guess where I could insert this?
Yeah, I'll look up OnCar's patches and we'll see if there's any help there.
Sure. And tonight, if I see him, I'll talk with him.
Sure.
Thank you. That's all I had.
Okay, that's great, Dinesh. Let's see who is next. I think we have Divya. Would you like to give your status, Divya?
Yeah, hi Scott. I was working on logging implementation. So I have submitted the patch set for a Gerrit review for a 2310. So you and David, please go through the code, and if you have any initial comments on the implementation side, please give me the comments so I can make those changes and commit it back.
Yeah, great. Yeah, we will. I will look at that, and I'll request that David take a look at it as well. So, is it is the patch considered complete now, or you're just looking for an initial review for, like the approach or?
Yeah, I mean, it's completed. A few test scenarios, I am testing it now. Probably I'll complete those test scenarios by tomorrow.
Okay, great.
So from day after tomorrow, maybe I'll start OldCTL changes.
Great. Yeah, and I think we finished reviewing the design document, and we all reached consensus. Were you able to close that JIRA ticket out?
Yeah, I closed that Jira ticket. Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, we'll get your patches taken a look at. Make myself a note. Yeah, I'll review your patches and get back to you. Thank you for that implementation effort. Looking forward to seeing that. Anything else, Divya?
Yeah, Rohan has not joined the call today. So his status is he is 12357 got merged. I am not sure whether he has closed the Jira ticket or not. I'll ask him to close it. And 2356, he has submitted the patch and waiting for it to merge. And he is working on one more Jira, and that is.
Yeah, I think
Actually,
David and we've been discussing over in the Volta stabilization channel his patch with him. So we're following the status on that. That looks like that's coming along. So yeah, that's great.
okay. And he is working on 2565, which Matthew has created this Jira.
So OpenOLT adapter ignores log level. Okay, great.
Maybe he will commit for that changes tomorrow, and after that he'll start working on the ONU adapter changes for the logging implementation.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you. It sounds like Rohan's work is coming along well.
Yeah.
Anything else, Divya?
Nothing. That's all for my side.
So your plan is we'll get the one that you just submitted reviewed, and then you've got the Volt CTL patch will be next, and then after that, would you start adding the dynamic logging feature to the other components like Volta Core and such?
Yeah, that is what my plan means. How you want me to take first Volta core and OF agent changes or old CTL changes means?
Yeah, we'll do the Volt CTL changes first, so that we get a full end-to-end solution working for the adapter. But then after that, we'll plan on implementing this solution through to all the remaining Volta components. So yeah, I think I added a couple stories to you last week.
Yeah, I saw those stories. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll
Okay, great. Yeah, but those ones come after the after we get the end-to-end working through to the adapters.
Okay, sure. Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that I'd added that stuff. Let's see. I don't think we have on-car this morning, so I think that would be it for everyone who has status to give. Have I missed anyone? Is there anyone with additional status? Okay, well, that sounds good. So some action items I have written down is to look into the time of date in the ONUG and see if that is synchronized. Yeah, to look, to follow along with Dinesh on getting you information on getting some kind of an on-demand API to get that that distance to the ONU, and review patches for everyone. So I'll work on those action items for the week. And then just to reiterate, in case anyone missed the beginning of the meeting, we do have this face-to-face meeting in April that we're trying to learn people's availability for. So please do go to that doodle poll, and if you're available, mark yourself as available. Even if you're not available, it helps the planners to know, so you can add your name and mark yourself unavailable if you'd like. But please do keep that meeting in mind. And the other point was API changes. Please be proactive if you're going to change a library function or a gRPC API. Make sure that you have mentioned this to someone who has contact with the G5, like, for example, David Bainbridge, or mention it to myself, and I will route it to the appropriate people. But just to be proactive on those API changes so we don't end up stalling, waiting on decisions. I think that would be that would conclude this meeting, unless anyone else has anything else to discuss.
No.
Okay, great. And Dilip will look forward to hearing if you get any meeting set up to discuss the statistics stuff with Sean and others.
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, thank you everyone for attending, and we will talk to you next week.
Next week
Okay.
holiday or
Is next week a holiday? What?
President's Day?
President's Day. I don't know. Yeah, ONF holiday. So yeah, no meeting on next Monday. Thank you for reminding me of that. So we will not have next Monday's meeting. We will have the following Monday's meeting. If anyone would like to, if anyone has anything pressing to discuss during the week, let me know. We could schedule a private meeting between just some of us, or anything. Just don't feel like you have to wait 2 weeks in case something important comes up. Keep in touch on Slack. But yeah, next meeting will be canceled for the holiday. And thank you everyone, and we'll talk to you again in 2 weeks then.
Okay, bye.
Bye all.
Thank you.